Good afternoon, JMU. I'm Ian Welfley. I'm Ian Welfley. I'm Ian Welfley. I'm Ian Welfley. I'm Chief Political Correspondent Ian Welfley, and we are so excited to get started tonight. Folks, it's shaping up to be an exciting evening. Stick around, you won't want to miss it. Currently stand in Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. as the country waits with bated breath for Joe Biden to be inaugurated the 46th President of the United States. In the distance behind me, you can see the White House, currently sealed off from any individuals without a White House press pass, as the National Guard and the D.C. Police are on high alert following the Capitol building starting just 2 weeks ago. Breeze TV hopes to guide you through the inauguration as thoroughly as we can and provide firsthand insight into this historic day. Sir, why are you out here today?
I just want to witness actually this historic moment of the end of Trump's presidency. It has been a very long period of like 4 years.
I'm a mom on a mission to save kids from ending up in burn units.
I came out to protest the inauguration because Trump has so much protest at his inauguration. I thought Biden should have a little protest at his inauguration also.
Well, it's noon here outside the Capitol building in D.C. and emotions are high. All around me, Americans have come out to both protest and support their new president as he's being inaugurated in the distance behind me. In spite of COVID, in spite of all the tension these past few weeks, it's truly remarkable to see the amount of people that have come out here to participate in our democratic transition of power. To give Breeze TV a closer look on all that's going on, I went ahead and asked Dukes of varying political beliefs just how they felt about this online war between Wall Street and Reddit. Now, sir, what are your exact sentiments regarding the recent surge in GameStop stock following what almost seems to be an online war between Wall Street and Reddit users?
It seems to me as a typical symptom of an economic bubble. Bubble happens when the national government dumps a lot of extra cash into the economy.
Locals are waiting to hear Republican candidate for governor Glenn Youngkin speak. While the event is just beginning, it's already shaping up to be a festive day. Now, Mr. Wilt, why should JMU cast their vote for Glenn Youngkin this upcoming November?
Glenn Youngkin has their future in mind. He's seen what's happened in the past, 4 years, and then 4 years prior to that. It has not been good for the state of Virginia. Glenn Youngkin has an eye on the economy. He's going to grow the economy and make sure that when you come out of JMU that you have a job and all the other students that are there.
Mr. Youngkin, why should JMU Dukes go out this November and cast their vote for you?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges in Virginia is that our economy is stalled out and our job machine isn't turned on. We've only created 44,000 jobs over the last 8 years. So JMU students should come vote for me because I know how to get the economy moving, how to create jobs so that the opportunities that all of you want to build great lives here in Virginia, not going someplace else, we'll go build together.
Last Friday, Rockingham County's agricultural community was treated to a visit by Republican candidate for Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, and several locals came out to show their support. Joined by his running mate, Winston Sears, the two discussed a variety of topics, ranging from law enforcement to mask mandates.
So that we have the great privilege of going to work for all of you. We, on day one, are going to stand up for law enforcement because they stand up for us.
Youngkin embraced his outsider image, claiming that Virginians are fed up with career politicians like his opponent.
And so tonight we had a rally here and brought everybody together, and this election is literally tied. We're neck and neck, and we're actually seeing voters come out and say, you know what, we want something different.
Democratic candidate Terry McAuliffe, meanwhile, passed through JMU last Wednesday to have a chat with JMU faculty on the implications of COVID in the coming semester.
You know, when I had a high school student, they're all good. First month I was a great parent. I want you doing all your stuff out in the kitchen so I can see you. You know, second month gone, Peter, my high school senior's up in bed, he's got it up, he's got the phone going, listen, I get this.
McAuliffe commended JMU for being a leader in managing the pandemic and called on all students to get the new COVID-19 booster shot.
And JMU's been a leader here in the entire area to help everybody. Let it be homeless last time, but we're now going to have to move toward the booster shots, and I really need JMU doing what they did before to continue to do that to keep our citizens safe here in Virginia.
Virginians have until October 12th to register to vote. If there was one thing Harrisonburg was to take away from these past few days, it's to, well, I'll let Mr. Youngkin tell it.
All right, James Madison, you got to get out and vote. We want everybody to get the word out and go vote. Let's go, Virginia.
On November 2nd, citizens in Virginia's 26th district will have the opportunity to vote for their representative to the House of Delegates. The man currently representing District 26 is Republican Tony Wilt, who is running for re-election. However, newcomer and lifelong resident of Rockingham County, Bill Helsley, has recently entered the scene as Wilt's Democratic challenger. Commemorated as a champion of the Valley by his supporters, Bill Helsley has been heavily invested in the Rockingham community.
I've been a long-established attorney here in Harrisonburg for approximately 36 years. During that time, I have invested greatly in my community. I've provided free legal services to the economically disadvantaged persons. I've made it a point to provide free legal services to 8 or 10 service organizations, and I've always made it a point to give back to my community.
Despite his outsider status, Helsley has already amassed major support from across the county.
I think he understands that politics, especially on a state and local level like we are right now, doesn't need to be divided, doesn't need to be divisive and polarized and toxic. A lot of people I think recently have just said, you know, for politics, I just want out, it's too much. And Bill Helsley just wants to say, hey, I'm here to make sure this area gets the right amount of funding that it deserves.
I'm running to make sure that we worry about kitchen table issues, things that will improve our locality, including increasing funding for James Madison University. As you probably know, JMU receives a lot less funding per student than the average public university in Virginia. I think it's time to elect someone who will fight for this area and our fair share of resources from Richmond.
Located at the crossroads of two key highways in the Shenandoah Valley, Harrisonburg, Virginia saw its fair share of fighting back in the American Civil War. The history is such a prevalent part of town legend that JMU even named a hall on the quad after Turner Ashby, a Confederate general killed during the Battle of Harrisonburg in 1862, as well as other halls after Southern figures like Stonewall Jackson and Matthew Maury. However, when JMU's administration changed the names of these halls last July, it sparked a wide array of reactions that still seem to loom beneath the community even 7 months later. Now that it's Black History Month and the buildings were just renamed today, I went out into town to garner local perspective on how Harrisonburg can best represent its history going forward.
I'm a JMU graduate twice, undergraduate and graduate school, and I would like to think that, I would have hoped to think that me being a student there and how the names on those buildings affected me personally when I attended, I would have hoped that that would have been enough for a major change. I don't feel like JMU had to wait until the country was forced to do something, and so let's hurry up and follow suit, so to speak.
I then decided to travel to the Valley Turnpike Museum downtown and have a chat with the owner.
I think sometimes people focused a lot on military history and not as much on social history.
Finally, I traveled out to Dayton to get some input from the commander of Harrisonburg's Southern Confederate Veterans.
I think it's ridiculous, and I think that the whole attempt to convert a generation of people who have faith in their heritage and their family and just want to be left alone to honor that is ridiculous.
The city needs to make an effort to have Black history in all places as subtle reminders. So I don't think it's so much about a big name. I think it's about just reminding people subtly that we were a part of the formation of this area, of this town in particular.
Reporting for Breeze TV, I'm Ian Welfley. I'm Chief Political Correspondent Ian Welfley, and we are so excited to get started tonight. Breeze TV has been traveling all around the state for the past 2 months to provide extensive coverage of this Virginia election. To give you a full overview of the production tonight, we'll be giving a tour of the workspace that we'll be working in throughout the evening with our camera operator here. So currently we are in the Election Center, where we have a myriad of student journalists working tirelessly to track state results throughout the evening in order to provide our viewers with real-time election results. And if you'll follow me to the control room over here, you'll be able to spot all the hard work that goes into making Breeze TV the esteemed program that it is. So if you'll follow me down the hall here, everyone is currently setting up for a show which will start at 8:30. And as you can see, we have students directing, technical directing, running graphics, running sound, running prompter, All these exceptionally talented students will be the brains behind all the live shots and footage that you will see throughout the evening. And if you'll finally follow me into the studio here, we have our workspace that you'll be seeing for the evening. We have our anchors over at the desk. That's where our panel is going to be throughout the evening. That's where I'll be sitting and delivering results to you. And there's our always trusty camera operators right there. Folks, it's shaping up to be an exciting evening. Stick around, you won't want to miss it. Well, Greg, frankly, it's going to be a crazy night. I couldn't be prouder of all the hard work Breeze TV has put in these past few months to make my team's coverage of the state election possible, because one of my biggest goals this semester was to showcase how much local politics matter. While the media frequently sheds light on national elections, it's the state and local elections that most directly impact us. And that's why personally following this race has been more exciting to me than the entire 2020 presidential election. And Breeze TV Politics is honored to say that throughout the past 2 months, we've conducted interviews with all 11 candidates that Harrisonburg saw on the ballot today. So I couldn't be more honored to be providing JMU with live coverage of the 2021 gubernatorial election. Well, when I began covering this race 2 months ago, Terry McAuliffe had a comfortable 6-point lead over Glenn Youngkin, eventually jumping to a 7-point lead and proceeded to maintain a 5-7 lead for some time. This caused many Democrats to assume that this wasn't a race to pay attention to. While we have seen a trend since the 70s where Virginia votes for a governor that goes against the party that's in the White House, this was broken by Terry McAuliffe himself when he won our state in 2013 while Obama was still in office. After all, Virginia does seem to be turning bluer and bluer by the year, so it's no wonder that the Democrats were a tad cocky at the beginning of the race. But if you're to look at one of the polls, something interesting happened as the election ventured into November. McAuliffe began the month with a 5-point lead, but that advantage gradually began to drop to the point that the race is now essentially a tie between him and Youngkin. This is why high-level Democrats like Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris came to campaign for McAuliffe 2 weeks back. The Democratic Party's petrified about what could happen in this race. They are so afraid that the Republican Party is going to make an advancement in this race because, to be fair, if they do, it will certainly indicate that 2022 will be a red wave year. I mean, try explaining to your political donors how a state that Joe Biden won by 10.1% all of a sudden has a Republican governor. One may attribute the sudden closeness of this race to how Joe Biden's approval rating has plummeted in the last month, but regardless, all of this is to show that anything can happen tonight. This is far from a decided election, which is why I'm excited to see how the evening progresses. Good afternoon, JMU. I'm Ian Welfley, and this is Breeze TV Politics. Seeing as how I've been super busy planning our election show for Tuesday, I didn't have much time to get a grandiose costume. So for today, as you can see from my name tag, I'm some dude named Paul. What up? While Halloween is this Sunday, there's another important date on the horizon, Election Day. While the 2021 gubernatorial election is culminating in just 4 days, we'll be covering any last-minute developments in the tightest race Virginia has faced in years. Now, our first story today is a big one, as it's been featured on national news outlets from Fox to the New York Post. I'm of course speaking of a JMU training video held last July by coordinators Jessica Weed and Jennifer Iwerks, who aim to teach social justice and inclusivity to rising student employees. During the video, Weed and Iwerks sparked controversy when they touched on the topic of oppression, defining it as the systematic subjugation of one social group by a more powerful social group, and proceeded to categorize anyone who identifies as male, straight, or Christian as the oppressors, and anyone who identifies as Black, Asian, or LGBTQ+ as the oppressed. Student employees were then instructed not to share the video's material with anyone. The training video, which has since been taken down, has made JMU a hot topic of debate, with individuals as high up as Virginia Senator Mark Obenshain talking about our school.
It's a great institution, and it's just sad to see it going down this woke, politically correct path.
JMU has since backed the training as an effort to create an inclusive and welcoming community for all students.